Hi everybody, thanks for coming. So, today we're going to talk about why being just a designer is not enough. So, who am I? My name is Arash Naderi. I work at City Project Red. I worked as a UI designer, tech designer, working on Cyberpunk, now working on the next feature project. So, maybe let's start with what this talk is not going to be about, right? So this is a tech conference, right? So as you can see, I have tech-looking stuff, but actually that's a trick because we're not going to talk about code or tech per se, right? So, but we're going to talk about the craft of the tech designer or programmer and so on and so forth, right? So I come from a school of design that it says important to have like a very concrete example. So I will start with examples, real life examples. Then I will move to like, I don't know, concepts, right? Make it general. So yeah, let's start. So maybe let's start actually, yeah, with a nice example, like a real example that is a story basically. So the story goes as this. One of my colleagues, which works at a AAA company, he's a very nice designer. He's a UI designer specifically. He was working on a very interesting feature, let's say, like car combat and stuff. So he wanted to do a nice UI for it. Everything was going good. Classic UI designer. You mock stuff in Photoshop. You do some videos, even showing how the whole thing moves and work. But the problem was that the output that he was seeing from the programmers, or basically the people who were implementing this feature, was not exactly what he was envisioning. So there was this classic. So this was, did I talk a lot before this? I didn't see it. So there was this classic game of telephone game, like probably you know it, right? So there was a miscommunication probably somewhere. There was details getting lost in between the communication from the designer to the programmer, right? So that actually made me start thinking about this talk a long time ago, which is what's the problem here exactly, right? This is not like these are like big companies like City Projekt, Ubisoft, my friends, some other AAA company. So probably something is going on there, right? So something is not right here because this looks like a very classic problem. So that's the first problem that I encountered that I want to talk about. This how what is my solution to this problem is, right? And the spoiler is, yeah, the problem was that he's just a designer, right? And he doesn't have any tech, let's say, abilities or programming abilities. But yeah, there's actually the other extreme, right? Maybe it's more interesting for you. But yeah, I actually noticed now. So. It's this edition is green, and actually my slides are all green. Yeah. You see? Wow, nice. Okay, so sorry. So yeah, so we have this other extreme example as well, right? So my programmer friend has a lot of very cool game design ideas, but he doesn't know how to express them, right? He's a very good programmer. He does like tool programming, right? Like a couple of you do, right? Very professional, but yeah, he doesn't know how to express his ideas, his cool creative ideas to the designers so that they can inspire and make a new thing, right? So so after seeing this problem, I noticed that it's not about not knowing to program or not to program. The problem is probably somewhere in the nice for specialization, right? So that's actually let's say, even a positive word, right? Because like you want to call the specialist when there's a problem, right? So it's like it's not a bad word, right? But why is it problematic? So the problematic because you're being siloed, basically, right? So this is the classic problem of the companies that I work or heard about, is that everybody's siloed in their own, let's say, team or specialization, right? So, but is it a problem? Because I see that a lot of companies are also doing good, right? Not a lot, but the good example is actually Ubisoft. This is actually, so this is this is nothing bad, but this is the whole list of people. This is just a part of the credits. It's for the actually for the what is called the Avatar game, the last one. And this is not the whole team, of course. It's because it's Ubisoft. It's the only for the UI, right? So for comparison, actually, we are also like a big company, right? And our team is basically probably this or even this, something like this, right? So I don't know how they even managed this. This is actually very good job to them that they manage such a complex pipeline. But actually, that's the place that actually specialization is good, right? Because you have this complex factory line, really, that you built during some long time, right? After like you built your technology behind it, you build your your work culture behind it. But yeah, so I think that it worked for them, but actually there is some, of course, downsides for it. For example, I think I have a gut feeling that it's kind of limits creativity, right? Because when everything is it should move on, right? There is no time to just stop and like, I don't know, like 3 months not do anything, right? Not doing anything. I mean, think about it, right? Think about the feature you want to design. Think about experiment, creative ideas, right? So I don't think that they do a lot of those activities, but I'm not saying anything bad about it. But that's how they do, right? They make good games, a lot of good games in good frequency, right? So so maybe there's a solution for it, right? So does somebody knows what's this? I mean, so this actually very nice workflow is, or like the design method is called Double Diamond. It's actually very simplified. Also, the whole workflow of how a feature is done, right? So it's also a classic one, right? The left side is when you design stuff, when you prototype stuff, and the right side is when you make and deliver the stuff, right? So nothing fancy. Design, prototype it on the paper, prototype it in video, prototype it, I don't know, maybe interactive in Unity, then give it to the next person. Please, programmer, make this implement this for me, right? So this is very classic. But when I was thinking about the solution, how to do this, it's nothing new. Is what we all know. Maybe you know as well. It's called T-shaped, right? So what is T-shape? T-shape type, or like employee model, is about that you're specialized, of course, in your own field, right? You're a tool programmer, you're an engine programmer, graphics programmer. But you also know how to do other stuff, right? You know how to think about the design. You know how to think about the art. You have the sense of what is a good art. What is, I mean, art is subjective, but you have a taste, right? So you know your stuff. You know this aesthetics, right? So this also helps to bring, like we all have this what is called the catchword, right? The diversity. But actually diversity means here it actually brings the other perspective, right? So if a programmer can talk to me and gives his opinion or perspective on my design, it can improve it, right? Very much. So yeah, so it gives us other lenses, right? That's obvious. Is good. So probably you heard about minimum value product, right? MVP, right? It's nothing new, right? So that's how we work, right? That's how like big companies also work, right? So have you ever heard about minimum awesome prototype or product? NAP. Do you know what is this? By the way, do you know what is this? It's a tank, but is it a tank? So minimum awesome prototype is actually this, right? So I think that's the let's say solution to this whole thing, to this whole problems that we're having. We're getting siloed. We don't know we're just told to do our job, right? Just program. Don't think about it. Design is somebody's else work, and so on. So how as a programmer I can tell my awesome ideas. I can of course talk to them over coffee, right? I can say, hey, have you ever thought about this? Maybe I can even draw something, right, on the paper. Maybe I can write a design deck, very nice one, right? But I think what we really need is basically this, right? This looks like a tank from the far, but it's really not, right? So how to do this in a game world, let's say, is to unfortunately know about a lot of stuff a bit, right? So who knows what is this? Figma, right? Do you know someone works with it, played around with it? So actually, I think that's in this list. You can choose between two, but I think you have to know all of them, unfortunately, right? So and you don't need to know them perfectly, right? So what you need to know is you need to know how to make something like this, right? It should look like a real thing. It should feel like a real thing, but it's just a mock-up. But it should be at least a bit interactive to show that if it's of course a game, right? Because we're making game, it should be interactive. So I would say even if it's possible, use Figma. If not, of course, Unity, Unreal, you already know. Sometimes you need to just mix your mockups with Figma, with 3D, with video. You need to even add sound to it. So actually, I was doing the same just before coming here. I was pitching a new idea, and I'm basically it's very raw first step, like first prototype that I'm doing. But actually, I just went to the YouTube and I just downloaded some gameplay walkthrough of some other game, and it has some nice sound effects, and just like copy pasted the sound effects just to give the feeling, right? To just set the mood, what I'm thinking, what is my aim, what is my vision, right? So yeah, so basically my advice is to learn all this, right, and use this. So what I'm this is, I don't know why it's funny. It's always funny. What I'm talking about is, especially when you work at these big companies, they actually expect from you to specialize, right? Like I said, like to go deep, and actually you have to sometimes specialize to actually even survive in the company, right? They say, oh, so now you have to choose between, you're a programmer, you're doing a good job, so now you have to choose between graphics programmer or tools programmer, right? Now, okay, if you need a tools program, so if you want to be a tool programmer, you can grow and be senior and whatever and what. So my advice is resist. I mean, you don't have to resist in real sense, but you can learn this stuff. You have to you can try to come up, and actually, so again, example that I said just coming before here. I did a prototype from for the game. It took me like actually it's a quite complex feature. It's a UI feature, but it took me like 1 week to do it, right? So it can be in somehow your free time, but what when you resist, what happens is actually what I notice is that the pattern that I notice in the big companies is actually those people who are T-shaped, those people who are always doing stuff and showing stuff and like basically showing off, honestly, which is a positive thing, showing off, right? Like, how to say, telling their vision, showing their vision. Those are the people who are becoming directors or leads and so on and so forth, right? So there is this corporate talk, right? So sorry for that, but that's actually the reality, right? So how to survive in these corporations, right? So I hope that that gives some insight, and thank you. Yeah, I finished fast. Thank you.